Hey everyone, in this video we're going to be taking a look at the new Rane 64 mixer for Serato DJ. The mixer is now out and available for the purchase. The Rane 64 along with the Pioneer DJM 900 SRT are the two new mixers for Serato DJ in version 1.5, which also brings DVS support to Serato DJ finally. As you should know by now, Scratch Live is going bye-bye, and Serato DJ is going to be the new premier software platform for Serato for both all its noise map control vinyl and CD users, meaning you can use your SL2, 3, or 4 box. Again, the SL1 and the TTM57 will not be supported in Serato DJ. But the Rane 64 and the new Pioneer DJM 900 SRT are the first two new mixers to work with Serato DJ with DVS support. DVS support will be coming in the next version for the other Scratch Live hardware devices. But in this video we're just going to do a brief rundown and take a look at the new Rane 64. Now at first glance the Rane 64 looks a lot similar to the previous Rane 68. However, there are quite some differences as well. The buttons are not those hard rock buttons like on the 68. They are kind of like the 62's button, but they are even updated again. Better plastic, better design, contour, shape, and better switches underneath. So we shouldn't have any issues with the buttons breaking or not working, as it was found on the Rane 62 and more so with the Rane 68 as well. So the buttons have all been updated now with newer designs and switches. Feels really good pressing them down. You can feel a nice little click when you're pressing them. So let's just go down the side right here. Basically these are the control strips on either side of the mixer. Down here at the bottom you have control for your cue points and loops and sample players. Basically you have the bank button right here. So you have your 4 buttons, so these will control the first 4 cue points. If you hit the bank button, that'll switch it over to loops on this side as well. And then down here you have the layer button. So you basically have 4 layers to choose from on the Rane 64. The first layer is going to be your cues and loops. The second layer is going to be for controlling the SP6 sample player. So if you let go of that, so you have your 4 right here. If you hit bank, that'll switch it to, you got 2 more up here, so that'll be your 6 SP6 slots. And then these buttons down here is how you switch between the banks in the SP6. Because there are 4 banks in the SP6, so you have a total theoretical amount of 24 sample slots that you can load. Layers 3 and 4 are customizable, basically for whatever you want. So you can use layers 3 and 4 to MIDI map the buttons to basically any other function in Serato DJ. Similar to the Rane 62, you can MIDI map it on the different layers to control different things. However, when you switch layers, it'll retain the same functionality it does to have already, like the cue points or the looping, until you remap it. So that's good if you want to, kind of keep it, but change just a few things on it. So layers 3 and 4 are for basically your own personal MIDI mapping choices, but layers 1 and 2 are locked to the controls, which they say right there, cue and looping, and the sample player as well. Moving up, the big red button right there, the also controversial sync button right there, which we'll get into in a minute. Sync is now here in Serato DJ with the DVS support, so even if you're using your turntables or CDJs, you can now sync as well. And it works pretty good, I must say. We'll get into that in just a little bit later. Next up above is the slip button. That is kind of a Pioneer feature. That basically means you can manipulate the vinyl, do whatever like that if you want to scratch or whatever. And it's basically like a roll function. It'll jump back into the track where it should be, have you not done whatever on here. It's also really cool to use the slip function in combination with cue points, so you can trigger cue points, do a kind of little drop in real quick, and then it'll jump right back into the track where it should be. That's pretty cool. Take a look at that also. Up here are the roll and loop buttons, and the loop selector right here, so you'll use this knob right here to select the loop lengths. Loop will do a normal loop, roll will do a loop roll. Moving up to the top, we have our scroll and load button, so that will scroll in your playlist and your track list. Tab over will go through your crates and sub-crates as well. Hit the tab again, that'll jump back over to there. And then finally up here, we have the deck 3 and 4 button. If you're using all 4 decks, that is basically how you switch between which decks have control. 3 and 4, or 1 and 3, and over here on the other side you have 2 and 4. Up here at the top are basically the input selectors. Again, with the Rane 62, the 64 has dual USB ports, so DJs can switch in and out at ease without any trouble. Just plug in your USB and basically just select which source. So green is going to be for USB 1. You can also select your normal analog inputs as well, or switch it over to the other USB port for the other DJ. So just as simple as that. It's turning knobs right here to which DJ wants to control which channel and whatnot. No more of that confusing drop-down menus. Had them to switch channels in the user interface. So going over here to the EQ section, same standard 3-band EQ, full Qs. Gain knobs up here at the top. Filters as well on each channel. Crossfader or sign switches, so you can do A, B, or basically turn it off if you set it in the middle to post. Got your flex effects buttons to turn on the effects, which are over here, which we'll get into in just a minute. Q buttons as well. One thing with the Q buttons, if you have one set Q and then you hit another one, it'll deselect the previous one and select the new one. So if you want to Q 2 channels at once, you have to basically press both of them at the same time, or all 3 of them like that, to get them all to light up. If you just hit one and then go to a different one, it'll deselect that one and change to the new one. That's kind of similar to the Zone 92. Down here, got your headphone controls, split Q button right here. This is your Q mix knob right here, so all the way that will cue up just the Q signal. All the way right will play the master. Moving in, you have your auxiliary input and outputs controls right here. Booth level, pan, left and right balance for the master. Non-program MIDI, we'll get into that a little bit later. That's kind of a special button. And then your master volume knob up here. And you have your 2 microphones up here. 2 mic sections. You can also switch these to line inputs on the back as well. And what's cool about this on the 64 is if you hit shift down here in the effects section, and then I can't reach the button up there at the top, but if you hit shift and on, that basically disables the microphone section. It takes it out of the signal path, and then basically you can use these buttons up here and knobs for basically other MIDI controls as well, without having to worry about the microphone feed signal, even if you don't have anything plugged in, in the signal path. So basically that takes the microphone signal path out of the signal path totally, so you don't have to worry about that. So you can use these controls up here in the mic section for MIDI control, which I particularly like to use for the software effects in Serato DJ. So moving down here, we have the effects screen in effects section. You can do external insert effects right here if you're using an external effects processor as well, like the Pioneer RMX 1000. USB inserts for software-based effects, so if you're using Ableton, or if you want to use the software effects in Serato DJ post fader, you'll need to engage these buttons right here. And then we have the built-in hardware effects, which are pretty much the same as the 68 and the 62. You have your standard filter, flanger, phaser, echo, robot, and reverb. Again, like the 62, if you watch my other video, there are options. If you you can change it for each effect. So if you hold the shift button down here and press any of the effects button, it'll bring up a menu of which type of filter you'd like to do. So you have low pass filter with a low sync, a low pass filter with high sync, high pass filter with low sync, and a high pass filter with a high sync. Watch my 62 video to explain basically what all these do, since they're pretty much the same thing. So shift plus flanger, that'll give you the option between 2 different types of flangers, one with positive feedback or one with a negative feedback. Each sounds slightly different characteristic sound. Phaser, there's nothing for phaser. For echo though, if you hold shift and echo, that will bring up the echo type. So you can do a normal echo, a echo with a high pass filter, and if you turn the time knob right here, that will select basically the cutoff value for the filter. So you can adjust that to your liking. If you want basically no filter on it, set it really low. If you want a real high pass filter, turn it all the way up, and then press the beat knob up and down. We'll switch between the different options, and just press the beat control down to select that one right there. So shift plus the effect will go through the menu to set which one you want. So that's pretty much it for the effects. Again, they're pretty much the same as the Rane 62 and the Rane 68. I've already covered those in a different video, so please refer to that if you want to hear what they sound like. And that's basically the run through the Rane 64. Let me get out here and try and zoom out. Nicely redesigned, basically updated version of the Rane 68. The headphone knob, the front plate rather, is nice and clean, nothing on it. All your controls are on the top of the mixer, so if you want your fader curve, that's right here as well. The channel faders are, kind of close together. That's kind of a not a good design choice, I would say, with the 68 and the 64. They're really close together. Not you can't get used to though, but I kind of like a little more spaciousness. The crossfader is Rane's patented magnetic crossfader. Good for scratching. However, the line faders are not the magnetic type. They're just standard alpha faders, I believe. So they will wear out eventually, but not the crossfader. It's a nice magnetic one. And then you have your slope for the crossfader over here on this side as well. But get back to the front, as you can see, it's nice and clean, nothing on it except the headphone jack. So you actually have three of them rather. You have the 1/4 inch here on the front of the plate and also on the top as well. And then you have also your little 1/8 inch there as well. So it's a matter of choice. Do you want to plug it in the top? That's cool. Or if you want to plug it in the front. It just depends, if you're putting this in a case or a coffin or anything like that. You just got some different options now. And that's basically it. That's going to be the my first look at the Rane 64 mixer. It's out now. The MSRP is $21.99, I believe. So it's a little hefty price tag. But it's a very good mixer indeed. I think this is going to be a pretty good seller for Rane. The Pioneer DJM 900 SRT is based off the already existing DJM 900, which is arguably one of the more popular 4-channel club mixers, if not the most popular of use. So hopefully Rane can take a little bit over of that market with this, especially now with the introduction of DVS support in Serato DJ, which we got going on up there. We're going to take a look at some of the software functions of the mixer in another video, but this one I just want to give a brief introduction and take a look at the new Rane 64 out now.